Today on Mormon Times, a newborn ICU nurse from Utah travels to Rwanda to teach neonatal resuscitation for the church.
It's always wonderful to hear those stories where they actually say, yes, without this equipment and without this training, I know this baby would have died.
Delivering equipment and expertise that'll help save babies in Africa. Enrich your personal study of the Book of Mormon, 5 great books that'll get you started.
Heber J. Grant, I shook his hand once walking on Temple Square.
You'd never know she's nearly 100. Sharp as ever, this grandmother has the energy to serve others every day. Find out her secret to staying young. Welcome to Mormon Times. I'm Michelle King. The church has long been involved in helping the poor and needy in developing countries, including the effort to save the 1 million babies who die each year because they can't breathe on their own at birth. Mary Jane McGregor is a Utah newborn ICU nurse who is dedicated to the LDS humanitarian program's cause, making it her mission to train other health professionals in neonatal resuscitation. She's ventured all over the world as a volunteer for the church, and her latest life-changing trip took her to Rwanda. Here's her story.
My first trip was to Ghana in West Africa, and then I've been to Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, a little island in the South Pacific called Kiribati. The Rwanda trip, we actually, instead of teaching actual hospitals in the country, we actually taught doctors and midwives from the refugee camps. And so they send teams of experts out to train these doctors and midwives with the skills that they need to get the babies breathing. But the most important thing is that the church sends the equipment that they need. It is expensive equipment. We have little mannequins, little plastic mannequins that look like babies, and we actually practice the skills on those mannequins in class, and then we leave them the equipment so that they can actually do it. We train them to become instructors themselves so that they can go back and train the other people in their hospitals to do those same skills. I'm pretty amazed at what they do with very little. Their lack of medications, their lack of equipment, their lack of facilities in this country don't realize how lucky we are, I think, until you see some of the other places. Yeah, you really get attached to them, and you just hope the best for them, and you know they're still going back to conditions that aren't ideal, but hopefully you feel like you've given them something that will make a difference for them and make their jobs just a little bit easier. I've actually had some people say, you know, yeah, you're saving maybe one baby's life, but you're saving them to a life that maybe isn't a very good life, but I just feel like any life is a great life, and you never know that maybe the one baby that gets saved is going to be the person that makes a real difference in their country. So usually we're really lucky. We always get to go to church at least 1 or 2 times when we're there, and that's just been a wonderful experience to interact with the members there. I didn't realize until I went that the church really isn't even registered in Rwanda yet. And so they're working on that. So there was just a little branch of about 50 to 75 people meeting. Wow, I do just love it. And it's one of the few things that you do in your life that you really think actually can make a difference in their lives and in the life of a baby. And it's kind of addicting. And I love the people. I love that experience of being with people in different cultures, and you have lifelong friends in different countries. It's been a great experience.
And Mary Jane will soon travel to Benin and Togo in West Africa to actually develop the programs there and teach. Plus, she'll head to Tanzania later in the year to train more doctors, nurses, and midwives. Besides neonatal resuscitation, there are several other programs under the church's humanitarian umbrella, including clean water and wheelchairs, vision care, food production, immunizations, and emergency response following disasters. Dean Walker is the head of the effort. He joins us now to talk about the different ways that the church and its volunteers are reaching out. Such good works, and you go all over the world.
All over the world, South, Central America, Africa, Asia. It's great.
So many great programs must cost millions of dollars. How is all this great help funded?
All the projects are funded from the humanitarian fund. These donations are given by members of the church on their regular donation slip, and that funds the projects.
Now, how do you evaluate how these programs are working? You send all these people out, it costs money, time, lots of good works here, but how do you know that they're really working after they've left?
Each of the initiatives has a unique way of evaluating each project. For instance, in our neonatal project, we actually do a small survey and get responses back from those that we train to make sure they've trained others.
And I heard that Mary Jane even mentioned sometimes they'll check by cell phone 6 months later and say, tell us about your successes.
Yes,
do you
that's
hear
true.
just amazing stories?
It is. In those instances, the cell phone's the only way to get back to those people, and so they're able to report back to us and give us the information we need.
It must be so gratifying, not only for these people who are volunteers, but also for you to hear these stories that, like, without your help, my baby would have died, without the immunizations, without the wheelchairs, you know, all these various neonatal resuscitation.
It is. If you imagine that 25,000 birth attendants last year got trained, and that 10% of all the births that they handle are actually ones that need resuscitation, how many babies' lives are now intact and people are living?
So a lot of people watching this may be thinking, I have some specialty that I could help with. How can people get involved if they want to participate in Church Humanitarian?
If they have a specialty related to the initiatives that we do, they can call the church office building and inquire as to whether there's a need for people to go out and help with these projects. For instance, in water, we look for water engineers, hydrologists. Neonatal, we look for doctors and nurses that can participate.
Newborn specialists.
That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We're so glad to hear of all the successes.
Good.
Thank you, Dean, for
you.
being here.
Mm-hmm.
And in Zimbabwe, church members were able to make the holidays brighter for a group of more than 200 families, thanks in part to members here. On Christmas Eve, 4 missionary couples and other members from Zimbabwe loaded up trucks and trailers. They had food, clothing, books, hygiene kits, lots of other supplies to deliver to families living at the city dump in the capital city. And all of these families and individuals survived by scrounging food and other waste from the dump. While these missionaries and members were able to lift and encourage the people as they distributed these much needed items. Those who received the gifts expressed gratitude for the kind acts of service from these strangers. They clapped their hands, they danced, they sang songs of heavenly praise. The supplies for this excursion were actually donated by members of the church right here in Utah. And earlier in the fall, large containers were stuffed with supplies and they were shipped to Zimbabwe. The containers arrived on Christmas Eve, and the items were immediately taken to these families in need. Well, taking center stage.
There's just no turning back when your heart's under attack.
From the national spotlight to their classes at BYU, the men of Vocal Point talk with us about their experience on NBC's The Sing-Off. That's coming up next. And arm yourself with insight. 5 reference books that will enhance your study of the Book of Mormon. Companion guides that will help turn you into a scriptorian when we come back.
Jump jiving, then you ain't gotta jump jiving, then you ain't gotta.
Vocal Point, the all-male a cappella group from Brigham Young University, rocketed to stardom on last season's The Sing-Off on NBC TV. They ranked among the top contenders, and they had tremendous audience support throughout the season. We caught up with a few of the members from Vocal Point to hear what they learned from their national exposure.
Well, you know I can be found.
Bright lights, adoring fans, and the hope of fame and fortune. BYU's a cappella group Vocal Point had it all as they performed in front of millions of fans on NBC's The Sing-Off. 9 men blending their voices into one sound for a powerful presentation on stage.
Is that how they do it in Provo, Utah?
Their music earned them fans, but it was their faith that brought respect.
I think when we went to Los Angeles to be part of the Sing-Off and interacted with these groups, they knew who we were kind of off the bat.
It was a great opportunity to make friends and show them like we're just normal people like everyone else is.
We were, again, afraid maybe we'd go there and people would think, you know, who are these strange guys and, you know, with their weird habits. And in the end, people had a pretty high regard for us by the end of the experience because of who we were trying to be. We just, again, we were kind of ourselves. We just, lived how we normally live, and everybody respected that.
One of the most surprising, probably pleasantly surprising things was how supportive everybody was of who we wanted to be and what we wanted to portray on TV.
Well, I think they appreciated that we were different and that we didn't mind that we were different.
Performing on a national stage gave them an opportunity to share their values, both on and off camera.
We were backstage just waiting to go on, and someone asked just randomly, "So, you guys believe in 4 books of scripture, is that right?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Could you explain that?"
I remember one time a producer came up to me and said, "How do you guys do it? We're working around the clock, all of us are. And how do you do it, without coffee? Do you have like a special vitamin or something that you take?"
And one person came up and just kind of started asking questions about the Book of Mormon and what it was all about and what we believed. And it was a really cool opportunity.
Each member took away a different lesson from the experience, but all agreed you don't have to compromise your values to be successful.
Something I've learned since being in Vocal Point is being professional in everything that I do.
I think what I learned from the whole experience is that all of us have incredible potential.
Everybody needs a little encouragement now and then, and being in Vocal Point has shown me that we're a lot more capable of helping those people than we think we are.
We learned so much about ourselves, so much about who we were, who we wanted to be. It was just an amazing opportunity all around. The wonderful thing about Vocal Point is that we have a common goal and a common vision in why we're performing. Our goal in everything that we always do when we sing is to bring happiness and joy to people who listen to us.
And what's next for Vocal Point? Well, as some members graduate and move on, 4 new members will join this group this semester. The group will be performing on February 4th at the Conference Center Theater in Salt Lake City. It's all part of the BYU Winterfest. Tickets are available at lds.org/events. Well, the men of Vocal Point weren't the only Latter-day Saints on the sing-off, sharing their faith through example. Amy Whitcomb and Lena Walker of the all-female a cappella group Delilah stood out because of how they dressed. Lead singer Amy recently graduated from BYU. Lena still attends the Y, and both chose to dress modestly, often wearing jackets and longer skirts while performing. Lena says that she said no to the wardrobe staff when they gave her outfits that didn't match her standards, and she's glad she did. Not only did she and Amy gain the respect of their group members and other contestants, but fans as well. Lena told BYU News that she's received emails from complete strangers who say that their daughters look up to her now because of how she dressed on the show. We'll be back with more on Mormon Times. As you read and study the Book of Mormon this year as part of the Sunday school curriculum, you might be looking for additional study materials to help you as you read. Corey Maxwell from Deseret Book is here with 5 books that will provide insight as you study. Welcome, glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And these are great books, and this is the newest one, right?
This is the newest one. This is a 2-volume commentary on the Book of Mormon called Verse by Verse, the Book of Mormon. As the title indicates, it covers every single verse in the Book of Mormon. It includes quotations from general authorities, the author's insights, but one of the things I like about this is they're trying to have this be a chance to study the Book of Mormon in a personal fashion. They include stories and ideas on applying the principles in our lives as well.
That's great. And it's 2 volumes to get through half the Book of Mormon in each one. Okay. Let's go to this one. And this one's been around for a little while, but boy, this is like, what you say, the encyclopedia of the Book of Mormon?
The best and the most complete single-volume encyclopedic work on the Book of Mormon. You've got 900 entries by more than 100 of the finest LDS scholars that deal with everything from doctrines to words and phrases, people, places, historical context, and then it's got an appendix in the back of really outstanding quotations from general authorities about the Book of Mormon.
That's wonderful.
It's just outstanding.
Yeah, it's good. So that's one that'll be around for a while. Now I have to, I don't want to do a sales pitch on this one, but we use this with our children, and I liked it because it goes through so many things, which you'll explain, but pictures too.
Oh yeah, I agree. We've used this as a family. It's wonderful. It fills the niche of a book that's really for families with younger readers. The whole purpose of the book is to help children fall in love with the Book of Mormon. But as you say, it's got the text of the Book of Mormon itself, but it also has these wonderful Book of Mormon scenes illustrated by well-known LDS artists, but it's got word helps. It's got questions to think about as you read the text of the Book of Mormon. It's got
quotes. It does have some
quotes from modern prophets. And
what I liked about the pictures is, for example, in Mosiah 18, when you're talking about Alma baptizing at the waters of Mormon, they show you a picture of, what is it, in Guatemala, that there's a waterfall, that this might be similar to what it was like there.
Yeah, maps, photographs, a lot of wonderful resources.
Really helps you visualize. And like you said, it's not a simplified version.
No, it's not.
The
it's
exact
the text of the Book of Mormon, yeah.
Okay. And what about these?
This is a 4-volume doctrinal commentary on the Book of Mormon. The prophet Joseph taught that the Book of Mormon is a keystone of our religion. So the authors of this 4-volume set wanted to focus primarily on the doctrines, the most important aspect of the Book of Mormon. So it covers every chapter and every verse, but the focus is on the doctrines. And they share quotes from prophets and apostles as well, and their own insights. But it's just, if you want to focus on the teachings in the Book of Mormon, this is the most thorough and profound book on
And it kind of goes verse by verse as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And this is Robert Millett and Joseph Fielding McConkie both have taught for...
Oh, I think probably 60 years combined between the two of them.
Years and years.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's our fifth choice.
This is also a new book, The Things Which My Father Saw. This gives an in-depth explanation of Lehi's dream of the Tree of Life and Nephi's vision about that. And that, as you know, sets the stage for the whole Book of Mormon. So it's really important. You've got chapters from some of the best LDS scholars that were delivered at a Sperry Symposium at BYU last fall.
So rather than evaluation of, verse by verse, this is more talks that explain.
Addresses at the Sperry Symposium. But the Lehi's dream is so critical. President Packer said that you may not think that that dream has special meaning for you, but he said, you're in it, we're all in it. And so it's really vital to understand that dream.
And which is your favorite?
It's like asking me to choose between children.
You've looked at them all. You probably
they're
read
so different.
them all.
I mean, if you want a commentary, I'd go with a verse by verse or the doctrinal commentary. But for a family setting, we've used this in our family. We love it. So, but I love them all.
Okay. Thank you so much, Corey. Thanks for sharing these books with us today. We're going to be giving away all of these books on our Facebook page at facebook.com/MormonTimesTV. Go there to get the details. And if you want a complete list of all the books, go to our website page. That's MormonTimesTV.ksl.com. In addition to those reference books, the church has released new tools to enhance your scripture study online. With more and more people downloading and reading their scriptures on smartphones and tablets and computers, a new tool now allows you to highlight verses, follow cross-references, and take notes online. You can find the resource at lds.org. And by logging in with your LDS account, it creates a personalized and private My Study notebook where all of your notes are stored. Instead of using a highlighter to mark passages, you use your mouse. You can also use the tool while studying conference talks and lesson manuals online. Well, for many families, the highlight of the week is a letter home from their missionary. And we want to share some of these letters and pictures of missionaries serving in the field with you. And here's an excerpt from a letter from Sister Dennison serving in Ecuador.
We had an awesome baptismal service on Friday night for Andres, age 10. The best part was after he got baptized and was invited to share his testimony. He stood in front of everyone and said, "I feel so good. I feel like my heart is on fire. I know I made the right choice. That's why I'm on a mission."
Well, if you have a letter and a picture that you would like to share, send it to MormonTimes@ksl.com. Have you ever heard of somebody who's almost too amazing to be real? Well, you're about to meet her, 97-year-old Dora Fitch. Service is her style, and she is not ready to wind down anytime soon.
Oh, I remember when they invented toilet paper.
Meet vibrant Dora Fitch.
They used to have back an outside toilet room with a Sears catalog that they would use for the toilet paper.
She's seen it all in her long lifetime. World War I, 2-cent postage stamps, the Mexican Bolshevik revolutions, the first talking movies, and the Great Depression. And she's enjoyed every minute.
Well, one thing, I've been happy all my life. I had a wonderful childhood.
And her 90s have been pretty great too.
I've done pretty much everything. I was 90 when we went on a safari. I was 92, 93 when I went to Ecuador.
But in Dora's lifetime, and especially in her golden years,
The thing that I'm most pleased with is my family.
Usually when we come over to do things, we crochet and stuff.
every week she works with her twin great-granddaughters, Macy and Morgan, teaching them how to crochet, knit, and embroider. Service sustains her. In the last 3 years, Dora produced some 2,000 dolls for the LDS Church's humanitarian effort.
I want them to go to children who will love them.
The dolls go all over the world, and so do her handmade t-shirts.
And how many have you made in the last 3 years?
700.
Dora's researched the names of nearly 6,500 ancestors for temple work and indexes names for family history.
I've done 24,999 this year.
She's created her own works of art by spending hours doing beautiful needlepoint of old masters' art. And Dora's a computer wizard.
I email my grandchildren.
Emailing at 97?
I tell them that because I'm old, I have the privilege of giving them advice.
She reminds them of the family slogan she and her husband chose before he died.
I think it's so wonderful because it's ingrained in them. They know, trust in the Lord with all thine heart.
We didn't have really a home where parents preached at us, but the expectations were there, and we all understood and wanted to do the right thing because of that.
In Dora's eyes, it's all about the legacy she's created. From her 7 children and posterity, there have been 61 missions served, 54 college graduates, 1 mission president, 1 temple president, 8 bishops, 11 temple ordinance workers, and 2 sealers.
I asked my mother-in-law, what is it that helped you to be so successful in raising these children? And she immediately answered, consistency.
The fact that I had 7 children and they all chose to be righteous is the greatest blessing.
Quite the woman. Dora says her secret for a long life is moderation in all things, be happy, keep the word of wisdom, and good genes help. She has 2 younger brothers who are 90 and 96, and both are still very active. By the way, Dora's 98th great-grandchild is due on her 98th birthday in April. Thanks for joining us today on Mormon Times, and if you'd like to rewatch any of our segments today or from past shows, you can do it at mormontimestv.ksl.com. And remember, send us your missionary letters and pictures. Hope you have a wonderful Sabbath.